If you're within 10 years of retirement, you're probably starting to feel the pressure. You know you need to focus on your retirement planning, but you're not exactly sure what to prioritize first and how to put yourself in the best position possible to retire on your terms. If you don't know me, I'm Tom, a certified financial planner, and I've worked with hundreds of clients in your exact situation. Throughout this time, I've found there are 5 strategic moves that can dramatically improve your success rate in retiring and can make the difference between retiring comfortably and having to work years longer than you wanted. The clients who make these moves put themselves on track to retire when they choose and with the lifestyle they want. And the ones who don't often are the ones scrambling to catch up and end up working well into their 70s. So let's dive into these, starting with why this 5-year window before retirement is so vital to getting you on track. Think about your situation right now. You're probably in your peak earning years, the kids have moved out or at least have stopped asking you for money, and your mortgage might also be paid off. This is the moment many people experience lifestyle creep, and that's a massive mistake. So rather than splurging that extra money, here's what the smart people do instead. They use this surplus to build what's called their war chest and simulate their retirement budget. So instead of upgrading to a bigger house or buying a fancier car, they're stress testing their future, meaning they start living on their projected retirement income right now. Take that extra money from reduced expenses and increase earnings and funnel it straight into retirement accounts. This does 2 things. It proves you can live comfortably on less, and it supercharges your savings when compound interest matters most. And don't forget about what's called catch-up contributions, which is the extra money you can put into retirement plans. For 2025, if you're 50 or older, you can contribute up to $31,000 to your 401k, which includes the $7,500 catch-up contribution. Now, if you're between 60 and 63, your catch-up contribution is a little bit higher at $11,250. So if you're 55 and can save an extra $2,000 per month because your expenses dropped over 10 years, and if we assume a 7% return, not only did you just put away $240,000, but it would have made an extra $104,000 on top of that thanks to compounding growth. Having an extra $344,000 for retirement's not a bad deal, right? And look at this, even if you did half of that, $172,000 is not bad either. So the point is, don't waste this moment. This might be the only time in your life when your income is high and your mandatory expenses are low, so use it strategically. So if this is you, here's what to do. Calculate exactly how much your expenses have dropped. We want to set up automatic transfers to move that surplus directly into retirement accounts and live on your projected retirement budget for 6 months to test it out and max out all available catch-up contributions as much as you can. One of the hardest things I have to do as a retirement planner is educate around this idea that retirement planning is about delayed gratification. Not to the extent that you're living off ramen noodles and can't enjoy yourself at all, but realizing that the sacrifice you make in this 5 to 10 year window creates decades of freedom later. The second piece is getting crystal clear on your spending and eliminating debt, because most people are guessing at the numbers that will determine their entire retirement. And you don't want to do that. If you think your spending is $4,000 a month when it's really $5,500, the difference can wreck your retirement plan faster than a market crash. So we need to know exactly where every dollar goes, and there are a ton of tools out there that can help you track this. I personally like Monarch Money to track and find where the leaks are in spending. For example, I love going out to eat, and you'd be amazed how $200 restaurant months turn into $600 without you even noticing. Once you find those leaks, you can redirect those extra dollars towards savings or eliminating debt. Because here's what you should be shooting for. Go into retirement debt-free. Carrying high interest debt into retirement can make things so much more difficult. Credit cards at 22% interest, car loans at 10%, these all have to go. Try and get rid of these as much as possible, because cash flow is the lifeblood of your retirement, and having to direct your cash flow to high interest debt when you're not working is not where you want to be. Now, can you make this work? Of course you can. But remember, the goal in doing this is so we can retire when we want and to live the lifestyle we want. Paying on high interest debt in retirement will make it that much harder. Now, there are different methods to paying off high interest debt. For example, you can use either the Snowball method, which is paying off the smallest balances first for psychological wins, or the Avalanche method, which is when you're paying on the highest interest rates first to save the most money. Both will work. You just want to pick one, whichever method you'll actually stick with. Now, should you pay off your mortgage? Well, that depends, and it's a common question I get a lot. If it's a 3% mortgage and you can earn 7% in investments, the math says keep the mortgage. But if having zero debt payments gives you peace of mind, that psychological benefit might be worth than the math. So here's what to do. Track every expense and create your elimination plan. Attack high interest debt aggressively using that extra cash flow. Then decide on paying off your mortgage or redirecting all debt payments to savings. Because think of it this way, every dollar that goes to debt in retirement is a dollar that can't be spent on travel, hobbies, or helping family. So go download a spending tracking app, connect all your accounts, list all your debts with balances and interest rates, and choose the Snowball or Avalanche method. The goal is to enter retirement with the lowest possible fixed expenses so your money can fund your life and not the credit card companies. The third piece is smart strategic saving that goes way beyond maxing out your 401k, because blindly putting everything into tax-deferred accounts could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in future taxes. We don't know what tax rates will be in 10 to 20 years, right? But we do know is that we want options. And one of the most powerful options most people don't know about is the mega backdoor Roth. If your 401k allows after-tax contributions beyond the normal limits, you could potentially get up to $70,000 per year into Roth accounts. Over 5 years, that's $350,000 that will never be taxed again. And with growth, you could have potentially over $500,000 in tax-free money without doing a single Roth conversion. But we need to be aware of our tax brackets. If you're in the 32% tax bracket now, but expect to be in the 24% bracket in retirement, traditional 401k contributions make more sense. If you think taxes are going up, Roth contributions could make more sense, or like most of us, we're not really sure, you can just do a combination of both. So let me show you the different buckets that make up tax diversification when looking at our investments. So here we have Ken and Beth, and this is their overall investment allocation broken up between the three buckets. Bucket 1 is taxable investment accounts. So these would be your brokerage accounts, or in this case, a joint investment account. These accounts are great, and I believe they're massively underrated in my opinion because they provide the most flexibility with no age restrictions or required minimum distributions. Plus, you get preferred capital gains treatment when you take money out if it's been invested for over a year. So I love these accounts. Moving on to bucket 2, this is tax-deferred accounts like the traditional 401k and IRA. These are great for high earners who expect lower retirement tax brackets. Every dollar saves you taxes today when you put it in, but down the road, when you take it back out, the IRS wants to get paid, and that's when you pay the taxes. Bucket 3 is tax-free accounts, and these are the Roth accounts and HSAs or health savings accounts. Now, these are perfect for building tax-free income streams in retirement, and the HSA, they could be triple tax advantaged if the distributions are used for medical expenses. But with all that said, here's why this matters so much. Taxes may be one of your biggest expenses in retirement, potentially bigger than housing or healthcare costs. Most of my clients are okay paying their fair share, but they just don't want to leave the IRS a tip. So smart tax planning helps you avoid Medicare IRMA surcharges, which can add $500 plus per month to your Medicare premiums. It helps early retirees stay below ACA subsidy cliffs, and it gives you control over your required minimum distributions after age 73 or 75. So what we like to do is consider using the low income years between retirement and Social Security to do strategic Roth conversions. The idea is to convert just enough to fill up the lower tax brackets, paying taxes at 12% instead of the 22 or 32% brackets that you might face later in retirement. Or you can do what's called a systematic withdrawal plan, where you take distributions from your IRAs on a fixed percentage or a fixed amount throughout the year. Now, obviously, everybody's plan will be different based on your personal situation, but the whole idea comes down to controlling when and how much you pay taxes in retirement. The fourth piece is about smart risk management. And this is where I see people make the most expensive emotional decisions. Here's the mistake I see constantly. People get nervous about market volatility and either go too conservative too soon, or they panic and move everything to cash. Both of these decisions can destroy decades of building wealth. So let me show you some real data that might surprise you. So we're back in here with Ken and Beth, 59 and 58. They want to retire at age 60, and they want to live on $5,500 a month in retirement. So let's pull up their investment allocation. And we can see currently they are pretty conservative with only 32% in stocks and 68% in bonds. Well, what if we switch them from 32 to 60% stocks and 40% bonds, which you can see here is considered a moderate portfolio? Because right now, if we look at their retirement projection, it's a 50-50 shot they'll run out of money in retirement. So not good chances there that anyone would want to take on. So if we go down here and if we change their asset allocation to moderate and we click refresh, we can see it jumps to a 63% success rate. And when we adjust spending in retirement to be more accurate using the retirement spending smile, which just means we're not spending the same amount every single year throughout retirement because our spending tends to decrease. If we do that, we jump to almost a 90% success rate. So the point I'm trying to illustrate is that protecting yourself in the short term often means putting yourself at greater risk long term. Inflation and longevity are much bigger threats than market volatility for most retirees, but we also can't ignore sequence of returns risk either. If you retire right before a major market crash, it can devastate your portfolio when you need to start taking withdrawals. And the solution isn't avoiding stocks, right? It's managing the timing and having buffers. So here's how I think about this. Create a glide path that gradually reduces risk as you approach and enter retirement, but it doesn't eliminate growth potential. So maybe start with 70 to 80% stocks in your early 50s. Then over time, gradually move to 60 to 65% by retirement, and maybe 50 to 60% in your early retirement years for a portion of your money. Because at the same time, we want to build a cash buffer of 2 to 3 years of expenses completely separate from your investment accounts. This is called your war chest. This lets you ride out market downturns without being forced to sell investments at the worst possible times. Now, let's talk about what not to do. We don't want to panic and buy expensive annuities without understanding all the fees and restrictions. We don't want to move everything to cash because you're scared. And don't let fear of volatility keep you from the growth you need to beat inflation. I've seen clients miss out on hundreds of thousands of dollars because they made emotional decisions during temporary market downturns. And look, I get it. This is not easy to do with all the noise, what goes on in the news. Market headlines are definitely fear-based, in my opinion, etc. But the ones who succeed and do really well follow their strategic plan regardless of what's going on at that point in time. Now, another part of risk management is optimizing Social Security. Every year you delay claiming between your full retirement age and 70 increases your benefit by about 8%. That's guaranteed growth that's hard to beat elsewhere. Also, don't forget to prepare for Medicare. Enrollment at age 65 is not automatic. And if you miss this enrollment period, you will have a lifetime penalty of higher premiums and are likely to have months of a coverage gap. So don't wait on this. It's really important. So for risk management, what should you do? Don't make emotional investment decisions based on market fear. Create a gradual glide path for your investment allocation. Build a separate cash buffer for those early retirement years, run Social Security scenarios to optimize timing, and start researching Medicare options 2 years before age 65. Now, the final piece is creating your withdrawal strategy and aligning your estate plan, because how you take money out is just as important as how much you put in. So I'll break down what to look out for depending on your retirement timeline. And here's how to think about this. If you're considering early retirement, that's age 60 or earlier, there will be gap years before Social Security kicks in. So you will have to live off of your own investments. Also, there will be gap years before Medicare kicks in at age 65. So you will be responsible for your own health care unless your spouse continues to work. Maybe they have great health coverage so you can hop on their plan, and that happens a lot. But the key is if you're considering early retirement, start researching options and what personal health insurance could cost. It will vary from state to state, obviously, but out-of-pocket expenses can range from $5,000 to $8,000 per year per person. If you're considering retirement at 65 or later, there may be a 2-year gap before Social Security begins unless you take it early, or the gap could be longer if you decide to delay Social Security to age 70, which honestly is a very common to lock in that extra 8% benefit per year. Now, this will vary drastically for everyone, but for the most part, you want to aim to have your Social Security cover as many of your fixed expenses as possible. Then you take whatever remaining amount you need to live your lifestyle from your investment accounts, like your IRAs, Roths, and brokerage accounts. Now, be careful here, because while you're collecting Social Security and taking your distributions from your IRAs and then selling investments from your brokerage account to book that next vacation, you may be triggering taxable events without even knowing it. And then when tax time comes around, you're stuck paying a huge tax bill that you were not even expecting. So I did an entire video on this exact topic. Which accounts should I take money from first in retirement? If you didn't watch that yet, I highly encourage you to, so you don't make costly mistakes. Now, to make it easy for you, I'll include a link in that video in the description, and you can watch that later. And finally, once you reach age 73 and beyond, required minimum distributions will kick in for your tax-deferred retirement accounts. This is where the tax diversification step makes a huge difference, because if you literally have all of your money in 401ks and traditional IRAs, it's not uncommon to have to pay over 6 figures in taxes later on in retirement. So real quick, let's talk about what not to do during this phase. Don't claim Social Security at 62 without running the numbers. Don't raid your retirement accounts to help your adult kids unless it's already part of your plan. And real quick on this one, because I know this can be hard for some people, especially if they see their adult child struggling. And I completely get it. I have 2 kids, 7 and 9. I would do anything for them if they needed my help. So to make this easier, just remember the airplane oxygen mask principle. Put your oxygen mask on first before you help anybody else, right? You can't help others if you haven't secured your own financial future. So I hope that's a helpful way to think about it. And coming to the end here is estate planning. Probably the most neglected area of a financial plan, because this is all the dark stuff, right? What happens when I die? Who gets my stuff? So I get it. It's not really fun to go through. But doing this planning is for yourself and for peace of mind, but it's mostly for your family and your loved ones. If you've ever had to settle in estate from a family member passing away and they unfortunately didn't have all of their affairs in order, it can be very stressful, and the process can be dragged out for a very, very long time. So here's what you can do here. Review all of your listed beneficiaries annually. This is so important because your 401k, IRA, and insurance beneficiaries override your will. Now, I'm going to say that again because most people don't know this until it's too late. Your 401k, IRA, and life insurance beneficiaries override whatever's listed in your will. And the last thing you want to happen is to have someone you didn't want inherit your assets or inherit an account that you forgot about. Now, I've come across IRAs where my client had their ex-spouse listed as the beneficiary and not their daughters. Now, thank God we caught it and we changed it, but can you imagine if we missed that? That wouldn't have been good. So check those at least once per year. Also, very important, get a will. Many delay this process of getting a will. Update your healthcare directives and power of attorney documents. These protect your family from having to make very difficult decisions after you're gone and helps your wishes get followed if you can't communicate them. The goal here is creating a plan that protects you, your spouse, your partner, and your legacy while maintaining flexibility for whatever life throws your way. So here's what this complete approach creates. Instead of hoping you have enough money, you know exactly how much you need. Instead of overpaying in taxes, you have multiple strategies to minimize them. Instead of being at the mercy of timing the market, you have buffers and flexibility. Every year you delay implementing these strategies reduces your options and potential outcomes. But acting now in the next 5 to 10 years gives you maximum flexibility to make smart strategic choices. So if you'd like our help in getting a plan together, visit us at www.gtwealthguide.com and schedule a call to see if we're a good fit to work together. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.